If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description. Additionally, if you would like to request novels and access my Google Drive where I have 200 plus audiobooks, then you can join my Patreon. Link is also provided in the description.
Chapter 21, Using Orochimaru as a Shield. Konoha Village, known as the strongest of the 5 great shinobi nations. And, compared to the other countries, the Land of Fire, where Konoha is located, is the most fertile land. Naturally, the other villages are constantly eyeing Konoha with envy. So, to avoid war, Konoha must seize every opportunity to showcase its strength, and this Chunin exam is no exception. This time, Konoha originally selected 3 genin, all of whom are quite powerful. I managed to get you a chance. Here are the profiles of the 3 candidates. Take a look and choose one as your challenge target. Shisui quickly returned and placed 3 files in front of Uchiha Akira. These were the profiles of the 3 genin originally selected by Konoha's higher UPS. The first file was Yakushi Kabuto. Judging by the photo, he appeared to be around 13 or 14 years old, wearing glasses, giving off a scholarly vibe. However, there wasn't much detailed information about him. He was recommended by Danzo. Seeing this, Uchiha Akira felt a slight stir in his heart. The timeline had advanced several years compared to the original story. Was Yakushi Kabuto still working under Danzo at this point? Kabuto's strength was not to be underestimated. When he first appeared in the original story a few years later, he already had the strength of an elite jonin. The second file was for Inyazuka Hana, a kunoichi from the Inyazuka clan, and the older sister of Kaiba Inyazuka, one of the rookie 9 in the original story. She already possessed the strength of a Chunin, and combined with the Inyazuka clan's secret techniques, she could bring a combat pet into battle, giving her a natural 2-on-1 advantage. The last file was for an old man named Kasuke, who looked to be about 60 years old. This is... Uchiha Akira's heart stirred slightly as he looked at the old man's profile. This eternal genin from Konoha was somewhat familiar to him. In the original story, he was a genin for life, even though the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Hokages all held him in high regard. His overall strength was said to be comparable to that of a jonin. So, among these 3, Kasuke was the strongest, with Kabuto possibly coming in second. After reviewing the information on the 3 candidates, Uchiha Akira picked up Inyazuka Hana's file, indicating that he wanted to challenge her. Very well. Tomorrow, at the training grounds outside the Hokage Tower, the winner will represent Konoha Village in the Chunin exams. Shisui nodded, said nothing more, and left to make the arrangements with the Hokage. Upon learning that Uchiha Akira would be challenging Inyazuka Hana, the 3rd Hokage naturally sent someone to notify her. At the same time, he arranged for the battle between the 2 to take place the next day. Uchiha Akira, hey? Only 6 years old, and already at the level of a Chunin. In just a few months, he awakened the 2-tomo Sharingan. I saw him during the Academy's opening ceremony. His combat intelligence is quite impressive. I wonder how he'll fare this time. Sigh, the Uchiha have indeed been restless lately. It seems we'll need to keep a closer eye on them. If they do launch a coup, even if we manage to suppress it, Konoha would be severely weakened. Standing by the window of the Hokage Tower, looking in the direction of the Uchiha clan, the 3rd Hokage murmured to himself. It's often said that Konoha is a cradle for geniuses. But in the 3rd Hokage's eyes, the Uchiha clan is the real cradle of geniuses. As long as one awakens the 3-tomo Sharingan, they become nearly invincible at the Jonin level, with no weaknesses. The power of the Sharingan has been feared throughout the ninja world since the Warring States period, and not without reason. The next morning, Uchiha Akira spent some money and began a new round of life simulation. His ninjutsu was sufficient, but he still lacked chakra. So, Uchiha Akira decided that this life simulation would focus on how to survive longer. 3 months later, you return from Kumagakure, and your name as a genius shakes the ninja world. 8 months later, after training diligently, your chakra reserves have increased significantly. 9 months later, you become an A-rank missing nin from Konoha and arrive in the land of rice fields, where you meet Orochimaru. Orochimaru is very interested in your body and keeps you in Otagakure. During this time, Danzo tries twice to take you back from Orochimaru, but both times, Orochimaru stops him. 2 years later, Orochimaru uses the living corpse reincarnation technique to take over your body, and you die. In this life simulation, Uchiha Akira decided to lie low with Orochimaru. As expected, he survived for about a year longer before Orochimaru took his body. It was rumored that his talent surpassed even that of Shisui and Itachi Uchiha, so naturally, Orochimaru was very interested in his body. He chose to enhance his chakra reserves. After 2 years of rigorous training, Uchiha Akira felt that his chakra had increased by about 40%. A 40% increase on top of a Chunin's base level. This boost wasn't bad at all. Note, if you are interested, you can read up to chapter 82 at patreon.com/mek01. Chapter 22, The Luxurious Spectator Group. In terms of overall strength, Uchiha Akira had indeed reached the level of a Chunin. However, after simulating so many times, most of his focus had been on mastering the body flicker technique. As a result, while his chakra didn't increase much, his proficiency in ninjutsu and combat experience became extremely refined. With an additional 2 years of training, he managed to slightly compensate for his lack of chakra. After finishing his simulation and feeling the increase in his chakra, Uchiha Akira had breakfast and then set out with his grandfather. "Where are you going?" Uchiha Akira asked, noticing the determined look in his grandfather's eyes. "My dear grandson is aiming to secure a chance to take the Chunin exam in the Hidden Cloud Village. As your grandfather, of course, I have to be there to support you," the old man said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Well, if his grandfather wanted to come and watch, there was no reason to refuse. "What about you, Keiko?" Akira asked, turning to Keiko, who had also come along. "Master Akira, your opponent today is one of the top-ranked genin in the village, whose overall strength is already at the Chunin level. I'll stay close by, just in case," Keiko replied gently, like an elder sister from next door. "You don't have much faith in me, do you?" Akira teased. "You misunderstand, Master Akira. I'm just being cautious," Keiko responded, not willing to admit her concern. Well, in his life simulations, Akira had been through a lot with Keiko, even surviving together twice. In fact, his two-tomo Sharingan had evolved during one of those simulations when he witnessed Keiko's death. If she wanted to stay close and watch, so be it. As they walked through the Uchiha clan grounds, they ran into Shisui. It was worth noting that Shisui had been talking to Itachi, and now they both decided to join the group. In no time, the 5 of them walked down the main street of Konoha, attracting countless curious glances. The Uchiha clan elder, Shisui of the body flicker, Itachi, and now Uchiha Akira, who was being hailed as the Uchiha clan's top prodigy. With such a lineup, it was impossible not to draw attention. After some casual conversation, Itachi, who happened to be free today, also decided to join them. After all, this was going to be a Chunin-level battle, and Itachi was curious to see the strength of this so-called top prodigy of the Uchiha clan. This group is a bit over the top, isn't it? Akira thought to himself as he glanced around at the impressive assembly of Uchiha members. Upon reaching the battleground outside the Hokage building, Akira realized he had underestimated the situation. It wasn't just the Uchiha clan that was taking this seriously. The third Hokage, Danzo Shimura, Kakashi Hatake, and even the heads of the Hyuga, Inuzuka, Yamanaka, and Nara clans had all gathered. Clearly, Uchiha Akira's reputation as a genius had spread far and wide. A 6-year-old trying to represent Konoha in the Chunin exams at the Hidden Cloud Village? Add to that the fact that he had been training under Shisui for several months. Naturally, everyone wanted to see how much progress Uchiha Akira had made in such a short time. Uchiha Akira had always known that his reputation as a prodigy was growing, but he hadn't quite grasped the full extent of it until now. After all, he was still just a genin, albeit with strength on par with a Chunin. But to think that so many of Konoha's high-ranking officials would personally come to watch? No wonder that after his Sharingan evolved to two-tomo, the pressure from Konoha's higher UPS increased, and he ended up getting hunted down faster during the simulations. Uchiha Akira inwardly complained as the group arrived at the battleground. After a brief exchange of words, the duel began. Uchiha Akira and Inuzuka Hana stood several meters apart, preparing to face off. While Akira was alone, Inuzuka Hana had her battle partner by her side, a ninja dog. Clearing his mind of distractions, Akira's expression grew serious as he focused on Inuzuka Hana, his eyes narrowing slightly. Then, his eyes turned blood red, and two tomo appeared in each eye. It was the two-tomo Sharingan. Though the title of prodigy made Konoha pay more attention to him, which increased the intensity of the hunts during his rogue ninja simulations, there were also plenty of advantages to it. Since he had decided to seize Inuzuka Hana's spot in the Chunin exam, he knew that the cleaner and more decisive his victory, the more convincing it would be. Seeing Akira's two-tomo Sharingan, Inuzuka Hana's nerves tightened. He might be only 6 years old, but the reputation of the Sharingan was feared throughout the ninja world. And this was the two-tomo Sharingan, a power that stood out even among Chunin. Beast imitation technique, four legs technique. Inuzuka Hana crouched down, while her ninja dog transformed into her likeness. Uchiha Akira formed hand seals, and 3 shadow clones appeared beside him. Note, if you are interested, you can read up to chapter 84 at patreon.com/mek01. Chapter 23, Shocked Audience. The Hokage, Danzo, Kakashi, Shisui, Itachi, and even many clan leaders and high-ranking members of the ninja clans had all gathered to watch this battle. Were they here to watch Inuzuka Hana? Of course not. They were all here because of the rising fame of Uchiha Akira. As the battle began, all eyes were focused on Uchiha Akira. How much power could a 6-year-old truly possess? When Uchiha Akira immediately activated his two-tomo Sharingan, the spectators silently nodded in approval. As expected, for a 6-year-old to have awakened the two-tomo Sharingan was already an indication of Chunin level strength. But what about his actual combat abilities? Is this a basic clone technique? Or maybe a shadow clone? Inuzuka, Hana's mother, had come to watch as well. Seeing Uchiha Akira summon 3 phantasmal clones, she couldn't help but be surprised. It doesn't seem like a basic clone or a shadow clone. No doubt, this is Shisui's disciple, Danzo thought to himself, his mind quietly calculating. This technique, could it be? Uchiha Itachi, Akira's close friend, recognized the technique immediately, and his expression changed slightly. But setting aside the thoughts of the high-ranking spectators. After summoning the 3 phantasmal clones, Uchiha Akira and his 3 clones rushed toward Inuzuka Hana. With the beast imitation technique, Inuzuka Hana and her ninja dog were facing a 2-on-4 battle. Inuzuka Hana extended her claws, aiming for Uchiha Akira's chest. However, her attack passed right through Uchiha Akira's body. A clone technique? Just an illusion. Inuzuka Hana thought reflexively as her strike went through Akira's body. But then, the Uchiha Akira she had dismissed as an illusion suddenly spun around and landed a solid punch on her. Bang! The punch sent Inuzuka Hana tumbling to the ground. At the same time, the ninja dog, which had transformed into Hana, was kicked by another of Uchiha Akira's clones. As the ninja dog was sent flying, it retaliated with a swipe of its claws, aiming at Uchiha Akira's face. But this swipe, too, passed harmlessly through Akira's body. On the battlefield, the 4 Uchiha Akira figures continued their relentless assault on Inuzuka Hana and her ninja dog. Yet, every time Hana and her dog attacked, their strikes went right through Akira. In contrast, Uchiha Akira's attacks landed solidly every time. The battle had barely begun, and Inuzuka Hana and her ninja dog had already been struck multiple times by Uchiha Akira. It was fortunate that Uchiha Akira was only 6 years old, so his strength wasn't overwhelming, otherwise, Hana would have been seriously injured by now. The onlookers were stunned. Every high-ranking ninja in Konoha who was watching the duel had their eyes wide open, expressions of shock written across their faces. He actually learned it. My grandson actually mastered Shisui's signature technique. Akira's grandfather was filled with pride as he watched the 4 indistinguishable figures of Uchiha Akira on the battlefield. Is this what a true prodigy looks like? Even Uchiha Itachi, who was the same age as Akira's younger brother, couldn't help but feel a sense of inferiority when comparing himself to Akira. No wonder Shisui requested Uchiha Akira to participate. With this mastery of the body flicker technique, he's practically unbeatable at the Chunin level, the 3rd Hokage mused to himself, deeply impressed. Beside him, Danzo's eyes flashed with a cold glint. The Uchiha clan, a clan with an inherently sinister nature, and now another super prodigy had emerged? This was not good news. As for Kakashi and the other clan leaders watching from the sidelines, they were equally shocked. A 6-year-old with the two-tomo Sharingan and Shisui's signature technique? It wouldn't be long before another Shisui of the body flicker emerged from the Uchiha clan. Or perhaps, this child might even surpass Shisui one day. The Uchiha clan was still the Uchiha clan, Konoha's most powerful family, a legendary ninja clan that had dominated the world since the Warring States period. Sigh, Hana, she lost. Inuzuka sighed inwardly as she watched the battle unfold, murmuring quietly to herself. Indeed, seeing the level of skill Uchiha Akira had displayed, some knew her daughter had lost. Despite Hana's best efforts, even using the Fang over Fang technique, her fiercest attacks couldn't land on Uchiha Akira. Finally, seizing an opportunity, Uchiha Akira drew a kunao and held it to Inuzuka Hana's throat. And with that, the battle was over. Note, if you are interested, you can read up to chapter 84 at patreon.com/mek01. Chapter 24, Sasuke's Talent, the Best in the Ninja World, Third Update. The battle was over, and Uchiha Akira had successfully secured a spot to participate in the Chunin exam in the Hidden Cloud Village. The Uchiha group made their way back to the clan grounds, with the grandfather in particularly high spirits. In just half a month, Akira had mastered Shisui's renowned S-rank technique. His future was truly limitless. The old man was even more thrilled than when he himself had awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan. Shisui also mentioned that in the days ahead, he would continue to train Akira as much as possible, pushing his strength to an even higher level. This would help Konoha better intimidate the other ninja villages. As they returned to the Uchiha clan grounds, they happened to see Sasuke with a backpack, heading to the ninja academy. It was still early, as the battle had taken place at dawn and had ended quickly, so they were back fairly early. "Brother, Akira, Shisui, where have you all been?" Sasuke paused, surprised to see them back already. "Sasuke, we just went to watch Akira's match against Inuzuka Hana. They were competing for a spot to take the Chunin exam in the Hidden Cloud Village." Akira won, Itachi, ever the doting older brother, explained with a smile. You're already preparing for the Chunin exam?" Sasuke looked at Akira in shock. They had always been playmates, and Akira had always seemed unresponsive to training, no matter how hard he worked at it. But suddenly, he had emerged as a prodigy, and his growth was terrifying. Sasuke had been thinking about how to catch up with him, but now it seemed the gap between them was only growing wider. "Sasuke, your talent surpasses mine. One day, the world will be yours," Akira encouraged him, seeing the disheartened look on Sasuke's face. "Really? My talent is greater than yours? But Sasuke wanted to believe him, knowing Akira wasn't the type to lie, but it still seemed unbelievable. Even though he was still just a student, Sasuke had heard of Akira's growing reputation as a genius. "Absolutely." Akira nodded seriously. Indeed, when it came to talent, who in the ninja world could surpass the reincarnation of the Sage of Six Paths' own son? Even Asura, the other son of the sage, was far behind in terms of pure talent, wasn't he? It's getting late, I need to get to school." Sasuke wanted to chat more, but realizing the time, he hurried off. "Sasuke has quite a bit of talent himself," Shisui remarked as he watched Sasuke run off. "But compared to Akira, it's still far behind," Itachi said, shaking his head and glancing at Akira. "No, what I said earlier was true. Sasuke's talent surpasses everyone's, it's the best in the entire ninja world," Akira emphasized when he heard Itachi's words. Itachi looked at Akira in surprise. He had thought Akira was just trying to comfort Sasuke earlier, but now it seemed that he genuinely believed it. This made Itachi curious. In just a few months, Akira had grown from an ordinary boy to someone with 2 Tomo Sharingan, even mastering Shisui's signature technique. Akira's talent was unprecedented in the history of the Uchiha clan. And yet, Akira claimed that Sasuke's talent was even greater than his? That it could even be called the best in the ninja world? What did it mean to have the best talent in the ninja world? It meant that, as long as Sasuke didn't die prematurely, he would eventually become the strongest ninja in the world. Could that really be possible? Throughout history, only the legendary first Hokage and Uchiha Madara had ever been considered for such a title. "Akira, have you seen something that the rest of us haven't?" the grandfather asked, unable to contain his curiosity. Shisui and the others also looked at Akira, eager to know what led him to this belief. But faced with their questioning gazes, Akira chose not to explain further. After all, he was still struggling to survive the upcoming Uchiha massacre. As for Indra and the events of the Fourth Great Ninja War, he certainly wasn't going to reveal anything that might cause even more trouble for himself. Seeing that Akira wasn't going to explain, no one pressed him. They just kept this matter in the back of their minds. "Shisui-sensei, we still have more than a month left, should we take on a few more missions?" Akira suggested as they returned to the Uchiha clan grounds, thinking about how he could use the remaining time to train. Yes, training alone wouldn't cut it. He needed to complete missions to earn money, which he could then use to fuel his life simulations. That was probably the best way for him to grow stronger. Note, if you are interested, you can read up to chapter 84 at patreon.com/mek01. Chapter 25, led by Might Guy, departing for the Hidden Cloud Village. Since the last life simulation where Uchiha Akira became a rogue ninja and hid with Orochimaru, surviving for about another year, he had finally found a safe place to stay. With some time left before departing for the Hidden Cloud Village, Akira completed 2 C-rank missions with Shisui. The 2 missions together earned him over 30,000 RY. Adding the 10,000 RY he already had, Akira managed to perform 4 life simulations during this period. These 4 simulations were all aimed at increasing his chakra reserves. Through these simulations, Akira gained the equivalent of about 8 years of training, leading to a significant increase in his chakra levels. Before, Akira's chakra was barely touching the threshold of a Chunin, but now, it had multiplied 3 or 4 times over. Within the Chunin rank, his chakra could now be considered above average. Unfortunately, on paper, Akira was still just a genin, which meant he could only accept C-rank missions. If he were a Chunin, he could take on B-rank missions, which offered much better rewards. Time passed quickly, and soon over a month had gone by. As the day of departure neared, Akira was introduced to the team he would be traveling with, a group consisting of an elder named Kakai and a young man, Yakushi Kabuto. Kakai was an old man in his 60s, while Kabuto appeared to be a young teenager, around 13 or 14 years old. Akira himself was just a 6-year-old child. The group of 3, covering a wide range of ages, was an interesting mix. Since they were heading to the Hidden Cloud Village for the Chunin exam, it was important for them to get to know each other better. Kakai was a kind, grandfatherly figure, while Kabuto gave off a friendly and approachable vibe. However, for 3 genin to participate in the Chunin exam in the Hidden Cloud Village, they needed a strong leader to guide them. Originally, Shisui had intended to lead the team himself. But a few days before their departure, the Konoha leadership assigned Shisui a different mission. It seemed the Hidden Mist Village was becoming restless, so Shisui was sent to keep them in check. As a result, Shisui had to leave, and the 3rd Hokage arranged for another jonin to lead the team. With his bowl-cut hair, green spandex, and thick eyebrows, Akira immediately recognized their new leader Might Guy, the blue beast of Konoha. Greetings. I am Might Guy, the proud blue beast of Konoha and a jonin of the village. I'll be leading you on this mission. Let's work hard together. Might Guy introduced himself with his usual enthusiasm, giving a thumbs up and flashing his trademark shiny teeth. Thank you, Might Guy-san. We're in your care, Kakai responded, unfazed by Guy's energetic demeanor. I've heard of you, Kakai. You're a formidable ninja. Guy nodded in acknowledgement. Might Guy-san, pleased to be working with you. Kabuto also greeted him, his expression momentarily betraying his surprise at Guy's entrance, but quickly returning to normal. Don't worry, I'll do my best to keep you all safe. Guy assured them. After greeting Kakai and Kabuto, Might Guy turned his attention to Akira. Though Guy was known as a commoner jonin, Akira's rising fame as a genius had even reached his ears. With Might Guy leading us, there's nothing to worry about, Akira said, looking at Guy with a smile. Oh? You know about me? Guy asked, intrigued by Akira's confidence. Know about you? Anyone who's ever watched the series in the 3rd dimension would know who you are. Akira thought to himself, though he didn't say it out loud. Who was Might Guy, after all? The elite jonin of Konoha, the man who nearly ended the entire series with a single kick. In the 3rd dimension, Itachi was often called the Itachi God, while Might Guy was revered as the Guy Emperor. The nickname alone spoke volumes. There was even a widely shared saying about Might Guy, I used to think only Guy knew taijutsu, but now I think only Guy can master it. Though this timeline was several years earlier, and Might Guy was not yet the elite jonin he would become, Akira still felt a strong sense of reassurance. I've heard stories about your father, Might Do, and his heroic battle with the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist using the 8 gates technique. It was an incredible feat, Akira remarked. You're different from the other Uchiha, Guy commented, his first impression of Akira greatly improved by the recognition of his father's legacy. Most Uchiha carried themselves with an air of arrogance, but Akira, despite his rising fame as a super genius, was surprisingly easy to get along with. Indeed, he was different from the rest of his clan. After introductions were made, the 4-man team, led by Might Guy, set out from Konoha, heading towards the Hidden Cloud Village. Note, if you are interested, you can read up to Chapter 84 at patreon.com/mek01. Chapter 26, Danzo's Dark Hand. Hiruzen, this Uchiha Akira's talent is terrifyingly high. Even Shisui and Itachi weren't as strong at his age as he is now. Danzo said seriously as he entered the Hokage's office after Uchiha Akira and his group had left. He's still just a child, the third Hokage replied in a calm yet firm tone, glancing at Danzo. Hiruzen, don't tell me you haven't noticed the undercurrents within the Uchiha clan. They're becoming restless. Have you forgotten how our teacher guarded against the Uchiha? Danzo continued, his voice filled with urgency. If Uchiha Akira makes a significant impact at the Chunin exams in the Hidden Cloud Village, the Uchiha clan's prestige will soar even higher. It would be best if Uchiha Akira doesn't return alive, Danzo warned, his tone turning cold. Indeed, Uchiha Akira was still just a child. But his talent was frightening. In just a few months, he had awakened his Sharingan and evolved it to the Two-Tomo stage. That's why he needed to be dealt with before he fully matured. Danzo, what are you planning? The third Hokage, recognizing the implications of Danzo's words, frowned deeply. I intend to make sure Uchiha Akira doesn't come back. Otherwise, such a genius will only fuel the Uchiha's ambitions further, Danzo said seriously. Is that why you deliberately had Shisui sent away? Danzo, stop this. I'm the Hokage. The third Hokage declared firmly, his voice leaving no room for argument. Hiruzen, I bear the darkness of the village. You are the shining, righteous Hokage, but you've been in the light too long. Remember, a tree cannot thrive without roots in the darkness to absorb nutrients, Danzo said, his gaze unwavering as he stared at the third Hokage. Fugaku, Shisui, Itachi. If we let Uchiha Akira grow any further, who will be able to keep the Uchiha in check? Don't forget, White Fang is dead, Minato fell in battle, Orochimaru defected, and both Tsunade and Jiraiya have left the village. Danzo pressed on, his presence unyielding. The third Hokage fell silent. Indeed, with the deaths of White Fang, Minato, and the defection of Orochimaru, as well as Tsunade and Jiraiya leaving the village, Konoha's elite forces were severely weakened. The Uchiha clan, on the other hand, was producing genius after genius. If another decade passed and the Uchiha clan did decide to launch a coup, would the village have the high-level forces necessary to suppress them? As the third Hokage reflected on this, he realized he couldn't be sure. When it came to Konoha's prodigies, Kakashi was the most renowned. However, while Kakashi's achievements were remarkable, becoming a genin at 5, a chunin at 6, and a jonin at 12 after the death of his comrades, he had almost become a shadow of his former self, losing himself in Jiraiya's novels. Though, the third Hokage had to admit, Jiraiya's novels were cough cough. Realizing where his thoughts were going, the third Hokage quickly brought himself back to the matter at hand. Upon careful consideration, he acknowledged that in another decade or so, the village might indeed lack the top-tier strength needed to keep the Uchiha in check. Danzo, Uchiha Akira is still a Konoha ninja. I will not allow you to harm a Konoha ninja. After a moment of silence, the third Hokage declared firmly. On the surface, it seemed like the third Hokage was still refusing to let Danzo act against Uchiha Akira. But Danzo could tell that Hiruzen was starting to waver. Don't worry, you're the Hokage. I'll follow your orders. I won't personally make a move against him, Danzo said, nodding as he gave his assurance. With that, Danzo turned and left the Hokage's office. Sigh. The third Hokage sighed quietly, gazing out of the window in the direction of the Uchiha clan grounds. If it were possible, he wouldn't want things to escalate to this point. But he too could sense the growing restlessness within the Uchiha clan. And as time passed, the number of powerful Uchiha members only increased, threatening to tip the balance of power. As Hokage, he couldn't allow this to happen. As Hokage, he was responsible for the safety and well-being of all the villagers. He had to prevent not only external threats but also internal conflicts within the village. Konoha was in no condition to withstand a civil war right now. Meanwhile, on the other side, Uchiha Akira and his group had spent nearly half a month traveling and had finally arrived in the Land of Lightning from the Land of Fire. Note, if you are interested, you can read up to Chapter 84 at patreon.com/mek01. Chapter 27, The Dominance of Uchiha Akira. This is the village hidden in the clouds, perched atop a mountain. Uchiha Akira mused silently as he gazed at the impressive sight of the hidden cloud village. Brutes. When Uchiha Akira thought of the hidden cloud village, the image of the wreckage from the original story came to mind, and the word brute was the first thing that surfaced. In the original story, when Sasuke was overpowered by the wreckage, he unleashed Amaterasu's flames to defend himself. What would a normal person do in that situation? They would probably retreat and reassess the situation. But the wreckage? He didn't care at all. Amaterasu or not, he simply punched through it, nearly killing Sasuke in the process. If Sasuke hadn't been a key character, he might have met his end right there. As for the wreckage losing an arm, it didn't seem like he considered it a loss at all. It's just like the Russians, if you provoke them, they'll fight back directly. Sanctions? They'll just retaliate. In the end, they'll even bring out their nuclear codes, clearly showing that if you push them too far, they'll flip the table. Sometimes, that's just how it is. Think carefully, but once you've made your decision, there's no need to hesitate, just act. You want to play strategy? Use schemes and tricks? Then I'll charge straight through, like a wild punch that takes down the master. For a long time, the Hidden Cloud Village has considered itself the second strongest among the 5 great ninja villages, always seeking to challenge Konoha's position at the top. Kakai, who had lived a long life and had a clear understanding of the situation, explained. So, this Chunin exam isn't just about testing skills, it's really a way for the Hidden Cloud Village to demonstrate its strength to the ninja world, isn't it? As the team leader, Might Guy didn't have a broad strategic view, but after Kakai's reminder, he finally understood. More precisely, it's a display of power specifically aimed at Konoha, Kabuto added calmly. Listening to their conversation, Uchiha Akira nodded in silent agreement. He realized that this was indeed a demonstration of power from the Hidden Cloud Village directed at Konoha. No wonder Konoha sent Kakai, the Eternal Genin, and even brought out Kabuto, Danzo's hidden trump card. Even though the relationship between Konoha and the Uchiha clan was strained, they still sent him, a Uchiha prodigy, to participate. Moreover, the relationship between Konoha and the Hidden Cloud Village has always been adversarial. Remember in the original story, the second Hokage was ambushed and killed by the Kinkaku force from the Hidden Cloud Village. And when the Hidden Cloud Village came to Konoha, they even dared to target Hinata, the Byakugan princess. Compared to other villages, the relationship between Konoha and the Hidden Cloud Village is the most hostile. The 4 of them discussed these matters briefly and reached a consensus. Since the Hidden Cloud Village was hosting the Chunin exams to flex its muscles, especially in front of Konoha, the stakes were high for Konoha. Although Uchiha Akira belonged to the Uchiha clan, Might Guy and Kakai were aligned with the Hokage faction, and Kabuto was a member of Root. But ultimately, this was a conflict between Konoha and the Hidden Cloud Village. So, with a few short words, they all agreed that during this Chunin exam, they had to stand united. Thus, the group arrived at the entrance of the Hidden Cloud Village. Even though they wore Konoha headbands, they were still stopped at the gate by the Hidden Cloud ninjas. Konoha, hey? Geographically, you're closer than the Land of Wind and the Land of Earth, yet you're the last to arrive. It seems you don't value this Chunin exam very much, one of the young Hidden Cloud ninjas remarked arrogantly as he blocked their path. As long as we're not late, it shouldn't matter, right? Might Guy explained, noticing that they were being stopped at the entrance. Might Guy wasn't wrong, as long as they weren't late, it shouldn't be an issue. The young ninja had no immediate response. But he wasn't ready to back down just yet and continued, did I say something wrong? Look at the people Konoha sent. An old geezer, a strange-looking kappa, and a kid. You even sent old men and children, is Konoha running out of ninjas? Kabuto adjusted his glasses, noting that among the 4 Konoha members, he was the only one not ridiculed. For some reason, that put him in a rather good mood. Guy-sensei. Seeing that Might Guy was about to explain further, Uchiha Akira stepped forward and stopped him. Then, Uchiha Akira took a few steps forward, his eyes narrowing as the 2 tomo of his Sharingan spun into view. At the same time, he coldly uttered 2 words. Move aside. Note, if you are interested, you can read up to Chapter 84 at patreon.com/mek01. Chapter 28, First Glimpse of Power, instantly defeating the genius Thunder Ninja. When someone is blatantly looking for trouble, no matter how eloquently you speak, it won't help. Besides, Might Guy is clearly not the type who can win with words. So, continuing to talk would be pointless and might even make it seem like Konoha is trying too hard to please others. Since it was clear that the hidden cloud village intended to flex its muscles before Konoha, Konoha naturally came with the same intention. What's left to say? Just meet them head-on. After all, the hidden cloud village is known for its brute force. Here, no amount of sweet talk will be as effective as a strong fist. This young ninja was obviously a genius genin from the hidden cloud village, so Uchiha Akira decided to take him on. Given his young age, it was inevitable that people would mock him. But because of this, if someone as young as him could display overwhelming strength, it would be the perfect demonstration of Konoha's power. So, although Uchiha Akira appeared aggressive by telling the opponent to get lost, there was a strategy behind it. What did you just say? The once arrogant Thunder Ninja's expression changed slightly upon hearing Uchiha Akira's words, clearly not expecting such boldness from a Konoha ninja. And this 6-year-old child, what's with those eyes? Could those be the legendary Sharingan, the most powerful bloodline limit in the ninja world? And he's already unlocked the two-tomo form? Might Guy opened his mouth, surprised by Uchiha Akira's assertiveness. However, Kakai, standing beside him, tugged at Might Guy's sleeve and shook his head, signaling him not to interfere. Well, if even the old man Kakai was on board, Might Guy realized that Uchiha Akira's approach was the right one. I said, get lost. Uchiha Akira's expression remained calm, his two-tomo Sharingan locked onto the opponent, radiating an intense pressure. And what if I refuse? Although shaken by such a young child wielding the two-tomo Sharingan, this was the hidden cloud village. If he backed down now, he'd never be able to hold his head up again. The young Thunder Ninja braced himself and responded defiantly. Since he refused to step aside, there was no need for more words. Uchiha Akira formed hand seals, and in an instant, a shadow clone appeared and charged at the Thunder Ninja. Just a shadow clone. The Thunder Ninja sneered as he watched the clone rush toward him. With electric arcs crackling around his body, he met the clone head-on with incredible speed and a powerful aura. He threw a punch that roared like thunder. However, despite the overwhelming force behind his punch, it passed through Uchiha Akira's clone without connecting with anything solid. So it was just a fake clone, a distraction. The Thunder Ninja quickly realized what had happened and immediately threw a shuriken at Uchiha Akira's real body. Clone or not, it didn't matter. As long as he could hit the real one, that was enough. Did this kid think a simple clone would fool him? He underestimated me. But Uchiha Akira's real body remained still, seemingly oblivious to the incoming shuriken, not moving an inch. Then, to the Thunder Ninja's disbelief, the shuriken passed right through Uchiha Akira's body as well. This is impossible. The Thunder Ninja shouted in disbelief. Indeed, Uchiha Akira had only created one clone, and his real body hadn't moved at all. Yet somehow, his attacks had passed right through the real body. How could the real body turn into a phantom? As the Thunder Ninja struggled to comprehend what had happened, the clone he had just passed through turned around and formed more hand seals. Then, it unleashed a fire technique. Fire style, Great Fireball Jutsu. Boom! A massive fireball, over 3 meters in diameter, surged forward with terrifying heat, hurtling toward the Thunder Ninja. How is this possible? Feeling the heat wave from behind, the Thunder Ninja turned to see the giant fireball just inches away. His mind screamed in disbelief for the umpteenth time in just a few seconds. The clone that he had just attacked, which should have been an illusion, was now using ninjutsu. The scorching heat wasn't an illusion. Boom! The enormous fireball engulfed the Thunder Ninja entirely. The single-target Great Fireball Jutsu was so massive it looked like an area of effect attack. Caught off guard, the Thunder Ninja, despite his lightning-fast reflexes, couldn't avoid it. Moments later, the flames subsided, leaving the ground scorched with a large blackened crater. The Thunder Ninja lay there, his body charred and looking utterly defeated. Defeated, and it wasn't even close. From the first move to the last, it all took just 3 to 4 seconds. Chapter 29, Even Orochimaru Can't Resist the Temptation. In a large cave, several figures quietly remained inside. This was the Akatsuki organization. Although not many people had the privilege of being here, any one of them was a top-tier force in the ninja world. For instance, a pale-skinned, eerily handsome man with snake-like eyes. This man was none other than the infamous and powerful ninja, one of the legendary Chunin, Orochimaru. Currently, the Akatsuki's plans were still in the first phase, focusing on laying low and growing stronger, far from the stage where they would start capturing the tailed beasts. So, at this point, the Akatsuki was not yet the terrifying organization known as the top in the ninja world but was still functioning as a mercenary group. As a mercenary group, of course, the Akatsuki couldn't be unknown. Otherwise, who would hire them? For instance, today, a commission had arrived for the Akatsuki. Orochimaru, the client specifically requested you for this mission, said Pain, his Rinnegan eyes focusing on Orochimaru after they had discussed the Akatsuki's recent developments. Oh! Orochimaru's brows furrowed slightly upon hearing this, clearly displeased. As a dedicated scientist, Orochimaru preferred to spend his free time on his research. Studying science, experimenting with forbidden jutsu weren't those more satisfying? Going out to fight, especially for a mission with no personal gain? That seemed like a waste of time. However, he was currently a member of the Akatsuki, and more importantly, Pain's power far surpassed his own. What's the mission? Despite his reluctance, Orochimaru's smooth, magnetic voice asked the question. It's from Danzo of the Hidden Leaf Village. The mission is simple, eliminate Uchiha Akira on his way back to the village after the Chunin exams, Pain explained concisely, outlining the mission to Orochimaru. Initially, Orochimaru was displeased about being personally assigned a mission. But as he listened, his eyes began to gleam. His mind flashed back to when he was still in the Hidden Leaf Village, secretly watching Uchiha attack his intense training, bordering on suicidal. The allure of the Sharingan's power had become almost an obsession for Orochimaru. Recently, rumors from the Hidden Leaf spoke of a new Uchiha prodigy, a boy who awakened the two-tomo Sharingan at just 6 years old. Who would have thought that Danzo would target him? It's so typical of Danzo's style. But a slow smile crept across Orochimaru's face. Targeting a super genius from the Uchiha clan? And with detailed information about the team? This was going to be interesting. Rest assured, I'll take care of this mission. Orochimaru said with a magnetic voice full of barely concealed excitement. At first, he had refused the mission, but after hearing the details, he couldn't resist the temptation. Moreover, the mission involved Might Guy leading Uchiha Akira and 3 other genin. Orochimaru remembered Might Guy quite well. After all, it's hard not to notice someone so unique. Danzo wouldn't personally take action against him, but hiring the Akatsuki, and specifically requesting Orochimaru, to eliminate him? Uchiha Akira had no idea about this development. At this moment, Uchiha Akira and his team were still standing at the entrance of the Hidden Cloud Village. The arrogant young Thunder Ninja had been defeated in just a few seconds. Though not in mortal danger, his injuries were severe. As expected of the Hidden Cloud Village, known throughout the ninja world for their ninja combat techniques. They're like magical warriors, perfectly merging magical power and physical strength. Truly formidable. Uchiha Akira silently marveled as he observed the injured ninja with his Sharingan. He was well aware that his current strength was at the Chunin level. Even though his great fireball jutsu hit its mark, it didn't manage to kill the opponent. The ninja combat techniques of the Hidden Cloud truly enhance strength, defense, and speed across the board. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. As Uchiha Akira was deep in thought, several more Hidden Cloud ninjas suddenly appeared, their expressions hostile as they glared at him and his team. The commotion had naturally attracted attention from the Hidden Cloud Village. Or more accurately, there had already been Hidden Cloud ninjas keeping an eye on them. They just hadn't expected that the youngest, Uchiha Akira, would end the fight so decisively. Despite being outnumbered, Uchiha Akira showed no fear, his two-tomo Sharingan glaring back at the ninjas before him. Chapter 30, First Place in the Exam, Orochimaru Attacks? The purpose of this Chunin exam was to showcase the Hidden Cloud Village's strength and to gauge the current state of the Hidden Leaf Village. Now that Uchiha Akira had made such a powerful move, the Hidden Cloud Village had a clear understanding of the strength Konoha possessed. Truly, Konoha was a cradle of geniuses. A 6-year-old child who had already unlocked the two-tomo Sharingan and possessed the strength of a Chunin. With their objective achieved, the Hidden Cloud Village had no reason to continue the confrontation. News of Uchiha Akira's abilities quickly spread throughout the Hidden Cloud Village. Naturally, the other ninjas from the villages participating in the Chunin exam also took note of this information. The Uchiha and Senju clans were the 2 great noble ninja families that stood at the pinnacle of the ninja world during the Warring States period. Now that the Senju clan had declined, all eyes were on the Uchiha clan. The Hidden Cloud Village invited only 4 other villages to participate in the Chunin exams, the Hidden Sand Village of the Land of Wind, the Hidden Mist Village of the Land of Water, the Hidden Stone Village of the Land of Earth, and the Hidden Leaf Village of the Land of Fire. As for smaller villages like the Hidden Waterfall Village or the Hidden Star Village, sorry, the Raikage didn't even consider them. Including the Hidden Cloud Village's own team, there were 3 genin from each of the 5 great ninja villages. The scale of the exam wasn't large. But because of this, each participant was an elite. The Hidden Cloud Village, known for its swift and decisive actions, didn't waste much time. The competition began quickly. The 15 ninjas competed in a point-based system, starting with individual battles. Then, the 5 great ninja villages engaged in a team battle. There were only 7 spots available to be promoted to Chunin. Thus, the entire exam in the Hidden Cloud Village was completed in just 2 days. Compared to the Chunin exams that Naruto and his friends participated in during the original story, this exam was much smaller in scale and duration. However, none of these so-called geniuses had any particularly outstanding performances in the original story. Uchiha Akira, with his Chunin-level chakra, S-rank body flicker technique, and 2 Tomo Sharingan, completely outclassed the other genin in terms of basic stats, bloodline limit, and skills. With Kakai deliberately holding back, Uchiha Akira, at just 6 years old, won the individual championship. Next was the team battle. The Konoha trio, with Kakai officially labeled as a genin but possessing the strength of a jonin, excelled in the water release techniques of the second Hokage, the Shadow Shuriken Jutsu of the third Hokage, as well as swordsmanship, genjutsu, and more. On the second day of the team battle, Konoha once again took the lead. Thus, the Konoha trio, led by Uchiha Akira, secured the top spot in the exam, earning the title of Chunin. The Chunin exam itself wasn't particularly remarkable, it didn't even involve any significant characters from the original story. It ended just like that. Afterward, Uchiha Akira and his team left the Hidden Cloud Village and headed back to the Hidden Leaf Village. Their journey back was relatively peaceful. Seeing that they were a Konoha ninja squad, no one dared to cause trouble on the road. Although traveling all the way to the Hidden Cloud Village wasted a month, officially becoming a Chunin means I can now take on B-rank missions, right? Sharpening the knife doesn't delay the woodcutting. B-rank missions usually involve battles between ninjas and come with rewards in the tens of thousands of ryo. And with just over half a year left until the Uchiha clan downfall, I have a good opportunity to grow stronger. As they traveled back to the Hidden Leaf Village, Uchiha Akira quietly mused to himself. Originally, this journey should have been uneventful. But as luck would have it, they stumbled upon a group of rogue ninjas raiding a small village on their way back. Even though they were still within the borders of the Land of Lightning, Uchiha Akira couldn't just stand by and do nothing once he saw what was happening. So, he stepped in and took out the rogue ninjas. These so-called rogue ninjas had only learned some basic jutsu, like the clone technique, transformation technique, and basic swordsmanship. They were no match for a fully trained ninja. After dealing with the rogue ninjas, Uchiha Akira searched their belongings and couldn't help but think to himself how poor they were. 3 rogue ninjas, and all they had was a combined total of 19,000 ryo. But then again, if they weren't so poor, they wouldn't have resorted to raiding a small village, right? After all, how much wealth could a small village possibly have? With 19,000 ryo added to the few thousand ryo Uchiha Akira already had, he now had over 20,000 ryo. Time for another round of life simulation. Without wasting any time, as the text appeared before his eyes, Uchiha Akira immediately began a new round of life simulation. You ranked first in the Chunin exam, and your name as a genius spread across the 5 great ninja nations. On your way back to the Hidden Leaf Village, you were attacked by Orochimaru and died. Note, if you are interested, you can read up to chapter 84 at patreon.com/mek01. Chapter 31, The Shortest Life Simulation. This was the shortest life simulation Uchiha Akira had ever experienced since obtaining the life simulator. According to the simulator, on the way back, he would be ambushed by Orochimaru and killed. The sense of danger was overwhelming, sending chills down Uchiha Akira's spine. This wasn't the first time he had simulated the Chunin exam in the Hidden Cloud Village. So why was it that this time, after actually participating, he would be attacked by Orochimaru? However, now was not the time to dwell on that. Orochimaru could ambush him at any moment on the way back to the Hidden Leaf. This meant that in the coming days, the attack could happen at any time. It wouldn't even be surprising if Orochimaru appeared in the next second. Damn, this is really bad. Uchiha Akira thought, feeling increasingly anxious. Although Might Guy was incredibly strong, even if he didn't open the 8th gate, just the 7th gate might be enough to hold off Orochimaru. But Might Guy's strength lay only in raw power. He didn't understand the intricacies of ninjutsu or forbidden techniques. If Orochimaru were to engage him with strategic combat, Might Guy could easily be manipulated. A simple diversion could be enough to lure Might Guy away. What should I do? Orochimaru could attack at any moment. How can I protect myself? Orochimaru is a cage-level ninja. Unless Shisui-sensei were here, there's no way to fend him off, but he's not here. According to the life simulator, I could die at any moment. Uchiha Akira's face turned pale as a deep sense of helplessness washed over him. The life simulator not only allowed him to rapidly increase his strength, but it also provided insight into the consequences of his future choices. It allowed him to avoid danger and pursue the best outcomes, hence its name, the life simulator, not just a training simulator. But now, having simulated this, a crisis loomed near, and he had no idea how to respond. Could it be that knowing about this impending crisis in advance through the life simulator was entirely in vain? That it wouldn't help at all? Calm down. I must stay calm. The more critical the situation, the more I need to think clearly. Think, how can I outsmart and survive this? Should I outsmart him? Or fight with sheer force? Or perhaps a combination of both? Taking a deep breath, Uchiha Akira forced himself to calm down. Akira, are you all right? Might Guy asked from beside him. Kakai and Kabuto also looked at Uchiha Akira in surprise. For some reason, after he had killed the 3 rogue ninjas and looted some money from them, Uchiha Akira seemed off. His body was even trembling slightly. It was as if he was afraid of something. Could it be that he's under a genjutsu? Kabuto speculated, noticing Uchiha Akira's strange behavior. Indeed, this seemed like the effects of a genjutsu. Upon hearing this, Kakai placed his hand on Uchiha Akira and channeled chakra into his body. The best way to break a genjutsu is to disrupt the target's chakra flow with your own. As Kakai worked, Uchiha Akira looked up at him, puzzled. Great, are you back to normal? Might Guy assumed a defensive stance, then sighed in relief and asked, Akira, were you under a genjutsu just now? Was someone secretly attacking us? Guy-sensei, it wasn't a genjutsu. Uchiha Akira shook his head in response. If it wasn't a genjutsu, then what was it? Might Guy and the others looked at him in confusion. Guy-sensei, we're in danger, our lives are at risk. Regardless of the situation, Uchiha Akira decided that he needed to inform Might Guy and the others about Orochimaru's impending attack. Life-threatening danger? What do you mean? Might Guy and the others grew tense. On our way back, we'll be ambushed by a powerful enemy, one of the legendary Chunin, Orochimaru. Uchiha Akira explained frankly. Orochimaru? At this, the faces of all 3 companions turned grim. Who was Orochimaru? No one in the Hidden Leaf village didn't know. But to think that Orochimaru would ambush them? Akira, how do you know this? Kabuto asked, adjusting his glasses. It's a unique ability, something like a premonition or danger-sensing power. Uchiha Akira explained, glancing at Kabuto. Then, he turned to Might Guy and asked, Guy-sensei, how many gates of the 8 gates can you open? I can open up to the 6th gate right now. Might Guy answered honestly. The 6th gate, huh? From now on, we must stay together on the way back. Whatever happens, we must not get separated. Uchiha Akira advised. Chapter 32, Come Out, Orochimaru. The ability to open the 6th gate of the 8 gates meant that Might Guy's strength was indeed impressive. In the original story, Might Guy in the 6th gate could even defeat Kisame Hoshigaki, right? Although the timeline is different now, several years ahead of the original, the power of the 6th gate, while perhaps not quite at Orochimaru's level, shouldn't be too far behind. Additionally, with Kakai also at Jonin level strength, staying together should provide some safety. Having spent time with Uchiha Akira on the trip to the Hidden Cloud Village, they knew he wasn't someone who made baseless claims. Since he said that Orochimaru would attack the team, everyone remained on high alert. Even Kabuto seemed tense, indicating he hadn't yet become Orochimaru's double agent as in the original story. Thus, the group of 4 remained on guard as they traveled, eventually crossing the border from the land of lightning into the land of fire. That night, they camped on a grassy plain. The plain was flat and offered a wide field of view, which should provide some extra safety. They took turns keeping watch, and during the latter half of the night, Uchiha Akira took over from Kakai. Then, he opened the life simulator once again. As midnight passed and a new day began, with more than 10,000 ryo left in his possession, Uchiha Akira decided to run another life simulation. This time, he wanted to see if they could survive the encounter with Orochimaru. You ranked first in the Chunin exam, and your name as a genius spread across the 5 great ninja nations. On your way back to the Hidden Leaf Village, you were ambushed by Orochimaru at Sunset Lake in the Land of Fire. Despite being prepared, you endured a fierce battle. Later, Orochimaru used the summoning technique to call forth Manda, who entangled Might Guy. You died. As Uchiha Akira read the simulation, his face turned grim. Focusing on the Orochimaru ambush provided more details about the attack. But the end result was still disastrous. The description revealed that after a fierce battle, the team, especially Might Guy, did indeed have the strength to hold off Orochimaru. However, Might Guy could only open up to the 6th gate, far from the level where he nearly ended the story in the original timeline. More importantly, the use of summoning techniques can be a huge advantage for a ninja. Orochimaru summoned Manda to entangle Might Guy and then used the opportunity to kill Uchiha Akira. While it was impressive that Might Guy could push Orochimaru to such lengths, the outcome still hadn't changed. What should I do? It seems that relying on brute force is impossible, and no one will come to the rescue. So, does that mean I have to rely on strategy? But Orochimaru, one of the legendary Chunin, is also a master strategist. Looks like I'll have to reveal my biggest trump card, my foreknowledge of the original storyline. Since the team wasn't strong enough to defeat Orochimaru, Uchiha Akira had to rely on his knowledge of the original story to find a way out. In fact, Uchiha Akira had always been hesitant to use his knowledge of the original plot. Why? Because in this world, ninjas have ways to read memories. If his foreknowledge were exposed, he wouldn't have the power to protect himself. At the very least, he needed cage-level strength and the Mangekyo Sharingan to have some chance of survival. But now, with life and death on the line, and no simulator left to help him experiment, he had no other choice. As he recalled the plot of the original story and thought about Orochimaru's character, Uchiha Akira began brainstorming ways to outmaneuver him. Ideas floated through his mind, some were kept, others discarded. Constantly simulating, analyzing, and reviewing. Eventually, a clear plan began to take shape in Uchiha Akira's mind. Although the 2 simulations ended with his death at Orochimaru's hands, they weren't entirely useless. The first simulation informed him of Orochimaru's impending attack. The second provided the location of the ambush and details about the battle. The next day, the group continued their journey, and as they approached Sunset Lake, they stopped to rest and eat to regain their strength. As for Uchiha Akira, he created a shadow clone to stay behind while he went ahead to Sunset Lake himself. After about 10 minutes of waiting by the lake with no one in sight, Uchiha Akira finally spoke up, "Since you're here, why don't you show yourself?" The wind blew through the silent area, with no sign of movement. "I know you're there. Come out, Orochimaru!" Uchiha Akira called out again. This time, a figure slowly emerged from the ground. Note, if you are interested, you can read up to Chapter 84 at patreon.com/mek01. Chapter 33, Orochimaru, even if you covet my body. Note, if you are interested, you can read up to Chapter 90 at patreon.com/mek01. At first, when Uchiha Akira tried to bluff, Orochimaru didn't respond. However, when he heard Uchiha Akira call out his name, Orochimaru realized that he had indeed been exposed. So, he no longer felt the need to hide. After revealing himself, Orochimaru's snake-like vertical pupils gazed at Uchiha Akira with curiosity. "How did you discover me? Logically, you shouldn't have been able to sense my presence." Orochimaru's voice was slightly raspy, yet it carried a strange allure. "If I told you that I knew about you yesterday, would you believe me?" Uchiha Akira responded calmly, looking directly at Orochimaru. "Did someone leak my information?" Orochimaru's brows furrowed slightly. Discovering him yesterday? That could only mean someone had informed Uchiha Akira in advance. But then, Orochimaru shook his head and said, "No, no one could have leaked any information. After all, no one knew I would be waiting for you here." Unbelievable. Orochimaru found the situation quite unbelievable. Based on sensing abilities, there was no way Uchiha Akira could have detected him. So why had Uchiha Akira been waiting at Sunset Lake as if he knew Orochimaru would be there? It didn't make sense. "Do you know why I'm here?" Orochimaru asked after a brief silence. "To kill me." Uchiha Akira replied straightforwardly. If you know I'm here to kill you, aren't you afraid? You even came to meet me alone. Orochimaru grinned, becoming even more intrigued by Uchiha Akira. Although Gai-sensei's 8 gates technique is quite powerful, he can only protect himself in front of you. He wouldn't be able to protect me. Since it's inevitable that we're no match for you, meeting you alone or with protection makes no difference, does it? Uchiha Akira stated plainly. He paused for a moment, then continued, right now, you're the hunter, and I'm already in your grasp as the prey. Why don't we have a good talk? Sure, what do you want to talk about? Orochimaru smiled, nodding in agreement. Maybe it was because he wasn't in a hurry to kill his prey and wanted to toy with him for a bit. Or maybe he was genuinely curious about what Uchiha Akira wanted to discuss. First, how I discovered you. This is a special ability of mine, something like a prophecy, similar to the great toad sage of Mount Myaboku, Uchiha Akira explained. Prophecy. Orochimaru had considered many possibilities, but he hadn't expected Uchiha Akira to claim it was prophecy. However, Orochimaru was familiar with Jiraiya, one of the legendary Chunin like himself, and knew about the great toad sage's ability to foresee the future. Could this young Uchiha genius also possess such an ability? It was hard to believe, but as the top scientist in the shinobi world, Orochimaru didn't outright dismiss it. After all, as a scientist, no matter how strange or bizarre something might seem, his capacity to accept it was higher than most. A prophetic ability, hey? I see. But don't think that will make me spare you, Orochimaru said, neither agreeing nor disagreeing, as he turned his gaze back to Uchiha Akira. Right now, Uchiha Akira was like prey in his hands. If Orochimaru wanted to kill him, he could do so at any moment. All Uchiha Akira sought was to survive. Orochimaru was curious, what trump card did Uchiha Akira have that made him confident he could survive? Before we continue, could you clear up something for me? Uchiha Akira asked, looking at Orochimaru. Don't forget our roles. I'm the hunter, and you're just the prey. Orochimaru extended his long tongue and licked the corner of his mouth, clearly signaling to Uchiha Akira that he had no right to ask questions. But Uchiha Akira wasn't deterred. He continued, from what I know, even if you're eager for my body, you can't perform the living corpse reincarnation for another 2 years, right? You don't have a reason to attack me now. During his previous life simulations, Uchiha Akira had evaded Orochimaru several times and knew the exact timing of his living corpse reincarnation technique. He, ha ha ha. Hearing Uchiha Akira mention that he couldn't perform the living corpse reincarnation for another 2 years, Orochimaru's pupils contracted slightly. He then stared intently at Uchiha Akira and began to laugh. His gaze was now akin to that of someone looking at a rare and precious treasure. The timing of the next living corpse reincarnation was a secret known only to Orochimaru. Not many even knew about the living corpse reincarnation technique itself. Yet Uchiha Akira had pinpointed it immediately. Now, Orochimaru was entirely convinced that Uchiha Akira possessed the power to foresee the future. Chapter 34, Spoilers. The night of the massacre. Orochimaru's eyes revealed a strange expression as he stared intently at Uchiha Akira. Then, he extended his long tongue and licked the corner of his mouth. His expression was akin to that of a lecherous old man suddenly laying eyes on an unparalleled beauty. Seeing Orochimaru's reaction, Uchiha Akira finally breathed a slight sigh of relief. He wasn't worried that Orochimaru was interested in him, he was worried that he wasn't. Otherwise, he might have died here today. You even know about my living corpse reincarnation. Interesting. Aren't you afraid I'll make you my next vessel? Orochimaru asked with a wicked smile. Aside from occasionally predicting some events, my talents don't compare to Itachi's. In your heart, he's still your most desired target, right? Uchiha Akira responded calmly. No, I'm starting to think you might be a good choice too. Orochimaru corrected with a shake of his head. After all, awakening the two-tomo Sharingan at just 6 years old was no small feat, and Orochimaru knew exactly what that meant. How about it? Why not come with me from now on? Orochimaru proposed, looking at Uchiha Akira. Of course, Orochimaru still hoped to obtain Itachi's body in the future. But if that proved impossible, Uchiha Akira's body would be an excellent alternative. That was his current thought. Not right now, Uchiha Akira replied, shaking his head at Orochimaru's suggestion. You think you have the right to refuse? Orochimaru's gaze turned cold. In about half a year, the higher UPS of Konoha will make their move against the Uchiha clan, That will be the night of the Uchiha massacre. When the time comes, why not drop by Konoha and watch the show? Uchiha Akira said, revealing the information about the impending massacre. The higher UPS of Konoha are planning to wipe out the Uchiha clan. Orochimaru was momentarily stunned, finding the news hard to believe. However, Orochimaru had already come to believe in Uchiha Akira's prophetic abilities by now. And after considering the current situation between Konoha and the Uchiha, along with the personalities of Hiruzen and Danzo, it seemed entirely possible that such an event could occur. Ha ha ha, how interesting! Konoha, founded by the Senju and Uchiha clans, first the Senju, now the Uchiha? Truly amusing. Orochimaru laughed, his face showing a hint of mockery. Then, he turned and began to leave. Orochimaru had come to believe in Uchiha Akira's prophetic abilities, and after some careful consideration, he also believed in the prophecy of the Uchiha massacre. With only about half a year until the Uchiha clan's destruction, Uchiha Akira would have no choice but to follow him. So, Orochimaru wasn't in any particular rush. As Uchiha Akira had pointed out, it would be another 2 years before he could perform the living corpse reincarnation technique again. By the way, just as Orochimaru was leaving, he paused slightly and added, "The reason I came to kill you this time was at Danzo's instigation." With that, Orochimaru used the body flicker technique and disappeared. Danzo? It was he who urged Orochimaru to target me. Uchiha Akira was surprised by the revelation, but after some thought, it made sense. No wonder Orochimaru had believed him so readily. If Danzo was already taking action against a genius from the Uchiha clan, then the idea of the Uchiha massacre wouldn't seem so far-fetched. Who? After Orochimaru left, Uchiha Akira let out a long sigh of relief. He realized his back was drenched in cold sweat. To survive this encounter with Orochimaru, Uchiha Akira had used every trick in the book. First, he showcased his prophetic ability. To make Orochimaru spare him, Uchiha Akira needed to demonstrate his usefulness. Orochimaru was a pragmatic person who valued those who could be of use to him. Second, he had revealed the upcoming night of the Uchiha massacre. If the Uchiha clan were to be wiped out, it would make it even harder for Orochimaru to obtain an Uchiha body in the future. Uchiha Akira would be his best backup option. Lastly, if Konoha's higher UPS were planning to annihilate the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Akira would have no choice but to leave Konoha. Orochimaru wouldn't have to worry about him refusing to leave. With these 3 points, Orochimaru had decided to spare Uchiha Akira for now. Danzo. After spending another 10 minutes alone, Uchiha Akira finally calmed his nerves. His eyes flashed with cold determination. He hadn't expected Danzo to target him so soon. It seemed that once he returned to Konoha, he would need to be extremely cautious. Moreover, his current strength was still far from enough. Uchiha Akira's desire for power grew stronger, and he felt an increasing sense of urgency. Chapter 35, Hiruzen Sarutobi, It Feels Like My Hat is Turning Green. A stretcher carrying Might Guy arrived as Uchiha Akira and his group of 4 successfully returned to Konoha. Upon learning that Might Guy had been brought back on a stretcher, the third Hokage naturally asked what had happened. Might Guy then recounted their encounter with Orochimaru to the third Hokage. Although Orochimaru had initially spared Uchiha Akira after their meeting, the mission was, after all, personally assigned by Pain, and as a member of the Akatsuki, Orochimaru couldn't simply disobey. So, Orochimaru held back a bit during his fight with Might Guy. He severely injured Might Guy but also left with some injuries of his own, retreating afterward. This allowed Orochimaru to save face with the Akatsuki by claiming that he had completed his task. The news that Orochimaru had been thwarted by a Konoha ninja surprised many in the Akatsuki. However, after Orochimaru recounted the legendary exploits of Might Guy's father, Might Do, who used the 8 Gates technique to take down several members of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, they understood. With that context, the Akatsuki members could accept that Orochimaru might fail when facing such a powerful technique. Back in Konoha, learning that Orochimaru had attacked the team, the third Hokage felt a mix of clarity and shock. He wasn't surprised because he had anticipated that Danzo wouldn't act directly but would instead use other means to target Uchiha Akira. However, he was shocked to discover that Danzo could actually contact Orochimaru. Orochimaru was his disciple, his most cherished student, no less. Even though Sarutobi had cut ties with him, Danzo could still contact him? This made the third Hokage feel a bit unsettled, as if the symbolic red hat of the Hokage on his head was turning an ominous shade of green. After returning to Konoha, Might Guy naturally went to the hospital to recuperate. Uchiha Akira, feeling responsible for Guy's injuries, visited him in the hospital, bringing some fruit as a gesture of goodwill. Meanwhile, the Uchiha clan's leadership became increasingly concerned after learning that Uchiha Akira had been attacked by Orochimaru. Orochimaru was an S-class rogue ninja from Konoha and a candidate who had once been in the running to become the fourth Hokage. The relationship between the Uchiha clan and the higher UPS in Konoha was already tense, and the fact that their most promising young member had been targeted by Orochimaru only fueled their anxiety. Damn that useless Orochimaru! In the root base, Danzo was fuming after hearing that Uchiha Akira had returned to Konoha unscathed. To ensure the success of his plan, he had specifically requested Orochimaru for this task. Danzo had even made a deal with Orochimaru, offering him more Hashirama cells in exchange for Uchiha Akira's life. Yet, Orochimaru had failed? Such a miscalculation! Danzo muttered in frustration, shaking his head after his outburst. He had assumed that removing Shisui and replacing him with the seemingly odd Might Guy would guarantee success. But who could have predicted that Might Guy, after opening the 8 gates, would be able to battle Orochimaru to a standstill? Danzo-sama, the third Hokage has summoned you. A root ninja approached, informing Danzo. Sigh. Danzo sighed deeply, rising to make his way to the Hokage's office. Danzo had a good idea why Sarutobi was summoning him. It was undoubtedly about the Orochimaru incident. Over the next half-month, the news of Uchiha Akira's promotion to Chunin spread throughout Konoha and even reached other ninja villages. A 6-year-old Chunin, a prodigy. This news shook the 5 great ninja villages. During this time, Uchiha Akira tried to take on a few B-rank missions to earn some money but was sternly stopped by the elders of the Uchiha clan. The clan's leadership clearly didn't want Uchiha Akira to leave the safety of the village alone. Thus, despite his growing sense of urgency and the desire to rapidly improve his strength, Uchiha Akira found himself wasting half a month of precious time. The date of the Uchiha clan's downfall was drawing ever closer, with only about half a year remaining. Finally, Shisui returned from his mission at the Konoha-Kirigakure border. Once back, Uchiha Akira wasted no time in pulling Shisui along to take on missions with him. With Shisui, reputed to be the strongest Uchiha of the current generation, accompanying Uchiha Akira, the clan elders finally felt reassured. Note: if you are interested, you can read up to Chapter 90 at patreon.com/mek01. Chapter 36, Shisui's Amazement, completing the Genin stage in a year. The Chunin exam in the Hidden Cloud village had ended, and the ninjas from various villages had returned to their homes. Naturally, news of the Chunin exam and the performance of the Konoha ninjas spread quickly. Particularly noteworthy was the fact that the winner of the individual combat competition was a 6-year-old Uchiha prodigy from the Hidden Leaf village. This information caused quite a stir in the Hidden Sand, Hidden Stone, and Hidden Mist villages. The emergence of another super genius in the Hidden Leaf village made the other ninja villages uneasy. A 6-year-old with a 2-tomo Sharingan and Chunin level strength? In another 10 years, could this child potentially become another Shisui Uchiha? Or worse, in 20 to 30 years, could the ninja world see the rise of another Uchiha Madara, who could dominate the world? This was certainly not good news for the other ninja villages. However, Uchiha Akira didn't pay much attention to how other villages viewed him or how his reputation as a genius spread. After all, what mattered more to him was how to survive the Uchiha clan downfall and how to deal with Orochimaru. Additionally, since Danzo had already made a move against him, Uchiha Akira needed to be extremely cautious in the coming days. Living in the Hidden Leaf village felt like walking on thin ice. This was Uchiha Akira's primary concern at the moment. Indeed, whether it's in terms of talent or mental fortitude, you're far beyond me, Shisui silently nodded in approval at Uchiha Akira's attitude. Despite being just 6 years old, suddenly gaining fame and recognition, Shisui had thought that Uchiha Akira might lose himself in the praise and flattery. However, he was surprised to see that Akira seemed completely indifferent to the shock his reputation as a genius had caused. Such a mindset made even Shisui feel inferior. Recently, Uchiha Akira had thrown himself into missions like a man possessed. In just 2.5 months, he had completed 3 B-rank missions. After deducting Konoha's share and Shisui taking the lion's share, Uchiha Akira had managed to save up more than 200,000 ryo. During these 2.5 months, Uchiha Akira had conducted more than 20 life simulations. Some simulations were focused on learning new ninjutsu and gaining experience, while others were to glimpse future developments. But most of them were aimed at increasing his chakra reserves. Although none of these simulations resulted in his Sharingan evolving further, after more than 20 simulations, Uchiha Akira had reached the point where he could survive a year or more after escaping the Uchiha clan downfall. As a result of these simulations, his chakra reserves had multiplied 4 to 5 times. In terms of ninjutsu, Uchiha Akira had mastered fire release, water release, Sharingan genjutsu, and more, to the point where Shisui remarked that his progress was astonishing. In fact, Shisui noted that Uchiha Akira's overall strength had almost reached the level of a Jonin. Indeed, in terms of ninjutsu, Uchiha Akira had become a well-rounded ninja, proficient in various fire and lightning release techniques, swordsmanship, and more, with no apparent weaknesses. Of course, it was widely acknowledged that once a member of the Uchiha clan awakened the Sharingan, especially the 3-Tomo Sharingan, they would have no weaknesses. Initially, Uchiha Akira's chakra reserves were at the Chunin level, not particularly high, but not low either. After more than 20 life simulations, with his chakra reserves multiplying 4 to 5 times, it was understandable that he was now on the verge of reaching Jonin level chakra. So when Shisui said that Uchiha Akira's overall strength was nearing Jonin level, it made sense. On this day, at a training ground in the Uchiha clan's territory, Shisui and Uchiha Akira were sparring. The two moved at lightning speed, exchanging blows. Shuriken throws, genjutsu, close quarters combat, and long-range ninjutsu attacks, every kind of battle technique was used in their duel. After about half an hour, Uchiha Akira finally stopped, panting heavily. Shisui-sensei, as expected, you're the strongest Uchiha. I'm no match for you. Uchiha Akira gasped, expressing his admiration for Shisui. Akira, your talent far surpasses mine. At the rate you're growing, it won't be long before you catch up to me. Shisui said, unable to hide the amazement in his eyes. Indeed, Shisui had been observing Uchiha Akira's progress as his teacher for about half a year now. In that time, Uchiha Akira had grown immensely. He graduated from the Ninja Academy at 6 years old. At 6, he participated in the Chunin exam and was promoted to Chunin. At 6, he had already reached the threshold of Jonin level strength. Completing the journey from an ordinary person to near Jonin level in just 1 year? Such a terrifying growth rate was unprecedented in the ninja world. So, I'm just a fake genius, Uchiha Akira thought to himself, shaking his head internally as he saw the awe in Shisui's eyes. He knew the truth. While it seemed like he had only trained for less than a year, he had conducted around 50 life simulations. Compared to someone who had trained for 50 or 60 years, he had only just barely reached Jonin level strength. His innate talent was actually quite mediocre. Note, if you are interested, you can read up to chapter 90 at patreon.com/mek01. P/S, check out my other translation book Naruto, I traveled with a max level account. Chapter 37, The Mangekyo Sharingan. Konoha Village, Hokage Tower. Shisui, you are the descendant of Kagami, so I have always treated you as if you were my own grandson, the third Hokage said with a kind and benevolent smile as he looked at Uchiha Shisui in front of him. Indeed, the third Hokage had a deep fondness for Uchiha Shisui. After all, Shisui was the strongest Uchiha and, like Kagami, held a strong sense of loyalty to the village. How could the Hokage not favor someone like that? Shisui, kneeling on one knee, felt warmth spreading through his heart. The will of fire was something Shisui wholeheartedly agreed with, and the third Hokage's attitude of treating the entire village as one big family only deepened Shisui's affection for him. This kind, benevolent leader, who ruled with compassion and justice, how could anyone not like him? Compared to the other villages, Konoha truly had the best atmosphere. At this moment, Shisui felt an overwhelming urge to shout, "I love Konoha!" to express the excitement in his heart. But before he could say anything, the third Hokage spoke again. Shisui, recently, the unrest within the Uchiha clan has become increasingly apparent. If my predictions are correct, it may not be long before a coup d'état occurs. You, as a member of the Uchiha clan, know better than anyone how powerful they are. If such a coup were to happen, many Konoha shinobi would undoubtedly lose their lives. These are all Konoha's ninja. And Konoha, after such internal strife, would become weaker than ever before. If other villages were to invade at that time, Konoha could face destruction. Not just the shinobi, but countless innocent villagers would suffer and die. Sigh. The third Hokage displayed a sorrowful expression, his eyes gazing upward as if trying to hold back tears from falling. Seeing this, Shisui felt a deep pang of sorrow in his heart. This was a man who tirelessly worried about the future of Konoha, an elder who carried the weight of the village on his shoulders. At this moment, the Hokage looked less like a powerful leader and more like an old man concerned for the well-being of his family. Third Hokage! Shisui exclaimed, feeling a heavy burden in his chest as if something was weighing him down. Without hesitation, he said, "Actually, I have a way to prevent the Uchiha clan's coup." "Oh? What do you have in mind, child?" The third Hokage looked at Shisui with a hint of surprise. "Third Hokage, as the strongest Uchiha, I have some influence within the clan. I will return to the Uchiha district and do everything I can to persuade the clan members to abandon their thoughts of a coup." The third Hokage had been expecting something more concrete, but Shisui's suggestion was merely to try and talk them out of it. Internally, the third Hokage sighed, feeling a wave of disappointment. As the strongest Uchiha, Shisui was deeply influenced by the will of fire, which made the Hokage fond of him. After all, who wouldn't like a useful tool? However, the third Hokage always felt that Shisui wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. Now, Shisui's words seemed to confirm the Hokage's thoughts. If the Uchiha coup could be prevented through persuasion alone, it would have been done already. "Shisui, you know that convincing them will be extremely difficult," the Hokage said, maintaining his kind and wise persona. "Third Hokage, it would be ideal if I could persuade them, but if that fails, I can always resort to using my eye technique," Shisui declared with determination. Eye technique? The third Hokage was momentarily stunned. What eye technique could the Sharingan possess? This momentary surprise was quickly replaced with realization. The Hokage's expression changed as he looked at Shisui in shock. "You? Could it be that your Sharingan has evolved into the Mangekyo Sharingan?" "Yes, third Hokage," Shisui responded. His eyes then narrowed slightly, revealing his three-tomo Sharingan. The tomo began to spin and quickly merged, forming the distinct pattern of a four-pointed pinwheel. "Indeed, it's the Mangekyo Sharingan." The third Hokage was visibly shaken as he saw the transformation in Shisui's eyes. A one-tomo Sharingan corresponds to the strength of a genin, a two-tomo to a chunin, and a three-tomo to a jonin. Then what about the Mangekyo? Naturally, it corresponds to cage-level power. Note, if you are interested, you can read up to chapter 84 at patreon.com/mek01. P/S, check out my other translation book Naruto, I traveled with a max-level account. Chapter 38, The Strongest Genjutsu, Koda Amatsukami. Mangekyo? Seeing the Mangekyo Sharingan pattern appear in Shisui's eyes, the third Hokage was deeply shocked. The third Hokage had always known that Shisui was regarded as the strongest Uchiha of his time. But he never imagined that Shisui had awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan. As a veteran of Konoha and a disciple of the second Hokage, the third Hokage knew exactly what the Mangekyo Sharingan meant for the Uchiha clan. Although the Sharingan evolves from one tomo to two tomo, then three tomo, and finally to the Mangekyo is a qualitative leap. It's completely different from the incremental improvement brought by increasing the number of tomo. Moreover, the Mangekyo comes with unique eye techniques. The third Hokage felt a deep sense of fear. He had calculated many things, but he had never anticipated that Shisui would awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan. However, along with his fear, the third Hokage also felt a strong sense of relief. Fortunately, his will of fire had completely indoctrinated Shisui, leading him to voluntarily reveal such a significant trump card. Otherwise, the consequences could have been disastrous. "You said you can use your eye technique to prevent all of this." After a long silence, during which he calmed his heart, still trembling from the sight of the Mangekyo, the third Hokage looked at Shisui with an inquisitive gaze. "Yes, third Hokage, my eyes hold a genjutsu known as Koda Amatsukami. It allows me to manipulate someone's mind and will without them realizing it," Shisui explained seriously. "With Koda Amatsukami, I can control the Uchiha leaders and make them abandon the idea of a coup." Hiss! The third Hokage couldn't help but take a sharp breath when he heard Shisui's words. At the same time, he looked at Shisui with a horrified expression. "Koda Amatsukami, a genjutsu that can alter a person's will without their knowledge?" Shisui's eye technique was unbelievably terrifying. Even though this technique wasn't directly for combat, it was far more frightening than any combat-based eye technique. This eye technique is very powerful. If it could be used in negotiations with the other four great ninja nations. After taking some time to steady his emotions, the third Hokage nodded and spoke up. Indeed, with such a technique, they could make the other 4 great ninja nations submit to Konoha. Third Hokage, Kota Amatsukami can only be used once every 10 years. Shisui interrupted the third Hokage's ambitious thoughts. I see, that makes sense. The third Hokage nodded upon hearing this, finding it reasonable. A technique so powerful would be too much if it could be used freely. Alright, Shisui, go ahead. Whether the conflict between Konoha and the Uchiha can be resolved depends on you now. After collecting his thoughts, the third Hokage nodded and instructed Shisui. Yes. Shisui responded with a heavy nod and then turned to leave. At that moment, Shisui felt as if he was carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. The future of the Uchiha clan, and perhaps even the fate of Konoha itself, rested on him now. Perfect, absolutely perfect. Watching Shisui's departing figure, the third Hokage couldn't help but smile broadly. Indeed, the power of the Mangekyo Sharingan and Kota Amatsukami was terrifying. But so was Shisui's loyalty, which the third Hokage had witnessed firsthand. If Shisui could truly change the minds of the Uchiha leaders and make them loyal to Konoha, it would be ideal. As the Hokage of Konoha, loyalty to Konoha meant loyalty to himself, didn't it? Certainly, the power of the Uchiha clan was formidable and unsettling. But if such power could be made to serve him, then there would be no problem at all. Just imagine, with the Uchiha clan at his command, especially with Shisui's Mangekyo and Kota Amatsukami at his disposal. The future would be nothing short of glorious. Although Kota Amatsukami could only be used once every 10 years, Shisui was still young, wasn't he? At that moment, the third Hokage felt that his decision to promote the will of fire in Konoha and to shape himself as a righteous and benevolent leader was the best decision of his life. If not for that, would Shisui have been so loyal to him? Meanwhile, in the root base beneath the Hokage's office. Unbeknownst to the third Hokage, every word of the conversation in his office was being monitored by Danzo. Shisui has awakened the Mangekyo. And the Mangekyo contains a terrifying genjutsu like Kota Amatsukami. No, if Shisui succeeds, Hiruzen's position as Hokage will become even more unshakable. Danzo realized the implications, his eyes flashing with cold intent. Chapter 39, 8 Gates Acquired. To be honest, the third Hokage never doubted Shisui Uchiha's loyalty to Konoha. Similarly, Danzo Shimura also had no doubts. After all, Shisui had willingly revealed his Mangekyo Sharingan and the powerful Kota Amatsukami. Was there any need to question his loyalty to Konoha? So, could Shisui use Kota Amatsukami to stop the Uchiha clan from initiating a coup? The third Hokage believed in the power of Kota Amatsukami, and so did Danzo Shimura. However, Danzo and the third Hokage were fundamentally different. The third Hokage, based on Shisui's loyalty to Konoha, was naturally pleased at the prospect of using the Uchiha's power for his own purposes. If Shisui succeeded, the Uchiha's strength could be harnessed for the village, making the Hokage very happy. But Danzo, in addition to being the root of Konoha and desiring the village's growth and prosperity, was also a man of flesh and blood. And being a man of flesh and blood, he had his own personal desires. One of those desires was his ambition for the position of Hokage. Now, if Shisui truly eliminated the Uchiha threat, wouldn't the third Hokage's influence grow even stronger with the Uchiha's power at his disposal? And wouldn't the third Hokage's position become even more secure? This was something Danzo couldn't accept. So, upon learning that Shisui was about to use Kota Amatsukami to suppress the Uchiha rebellion, Danzo couldn't sit still any longer. He immediately gathered the top members of the root and set out to take action. Leaving aside the current situation among Konoha's higher UPS, at this moment, Uchiha Akira was at one of Konoha's training grounds. There, Might Guy, dressed in his green jumpsuit with his signature bowl haircut and thick eyebrows, was engaging in rehabilitative training. One had to admit, medical ninjutsu was truly remarkable. Serious injuries healed significantly in just 2 or 3 months. Guy-sensei, your body hasn't fully recovered yet, so it's best to avoid strenuous exercise. Seeing that Might Guy had trained enough, Uchiha Akira advised. On one hand, the original Might Guy was someone to be greatly admired. On the other hand, this injury was largely due to his involvement. As a result, Uchiha Akira often visited Might Guy, and over time, their relationship had grown much closer. All right, I'll rest for now. After all, rest is also part of youth. Might Guy agreed with a nod, stopping his training. By the way, Guy-sensei, your 8 gates technique is truly impressive. Opening 6 gates allowed you to fight Orochimaru to a standstill. After some casual conversation, Uchiha Akira steered the topic toward the 8 gates. No, you misunderstand. I believe Orochimaru wasn't fighting with his full strength that day. If it had been a true battle to the death, we both would have perished at his hands. Might Guy shook his head in response to Uchiha Akira's words. After all, Orochimaru was one of the legendary Chunin, arguably the greatest of the three. To have survived an encounter with him? Honestly, even now, Might Guy found it hard to believe. But if Orochimaru intended to attack, why didn't he go all out? Might Guy pondered this for a long time but couldn't figure it out. By the way. After a long silence between the two, Might Guy suddenly turned to Uchiha Akira and said, now that the entire ninja world knows you're a genius, and it's rumored that you learn jutsu very quickly, would you like to try learning the 8 gates? Hey! Uchiha Akira was stunned, clearly not expecting Might Guy to suddenly offer to teach him the 8 gates technique. I know you don't really need the 8 gates, but you're a fast learner. I've heard you mastered the clone technique in one night and learned an S-rank technique in half a month. Right now, I'm the only one in the ninja world who knows the 8 gates, and I haven't found a disciple willing to follow me. I don't want the 8 gates technique to be lost to time. Seeing Uchiha Akira's astonished expression, Might Guy explained, looking somewhat dejected. Indeed, with his bowl haircut, tight jumpsuit and an overwhelming personality, it's hard for others to want to associate with him. Although he was a ninja, if given another choice, most wouldn't want to stand beside Might Guy, right? So, Might Guy remained alone, without any subordinates despite being a ninja. As for Niji Hyuga, Tenten, and Rock Lee from the original story, they were probably still in the Ninja Academy, not yet graduated. In that case, thank you, Guy-sensei. This was the first time Uchiha Akira had seen Might Guy so disheartened. After a brief pause, Uchiha Akira accepted the offer. While the Uchiha clan was known for their ocular abilities, the 8 gates technique, which could greatly enhance chakra at critical moments, was certainly a valuable trump card. After all, it would only require a few attempts, maybe dozens, and some money. Learning the 8 gates would be a powerful addition to his arsenal since this trump card would never be useless. Chapter 40, Guy-sensei, go find him at the Ninja Academy. On one hand, Uchiha Akira knew that Might Guy would become incredibly strong in the future. On the other hand, this injury happened partly because of him. So, Uchiha Akira deliberately got closer to Might Guy, wanting to build a good relationship with him. What he didn't expect was to gain the opportunity to learn the 8 gates technique. But thinking about it, it made sense. Might Guy had grown up facing rejection and strange looks from others, similar to how Naruto Uzumaki was treated. Naturally, someone who lacked love would deeply cherish anyone who showed them kindness. In the original story, Might Guy's only true friend was Kakashi. And that friendship was something Might Guy pursued relentlessly, almost like a loyal follower, similar to how Naruto constantly pursued Sasuke. Kakashi actually knew the 8 gates too, but his mastery was not as high. Perhaps Uchiha Akira was the first person to willingly approach Might Guy on his own. Given his reputation as a genius, Might Guy likely feared that his 8 gates technique would be lost, which is why he was eager to pass it on to Uchiha Akira. To be honest, when Might Guy first offered to teach him, Uchiha Akira was quite surprised. But after thinking it over, it made perfect sense. Seeing that Uchiha Akira didn't refuse, Might Guy was pleased and eagerly explained the entire 8 gates training method. He even asked Uchiha Akira to activate his 2-tomo Sharingan to observe his Leaf Village-style taijutsu. After all, the 8 gates technique isn't complete without taijutsu to go along with it. With his 2-tomo Sharingan, Uchiha Akira was able to perfectly memorize and replicate Might Guy's taijutsu movements, though his strength and speed were still far from matching Might Guy's. However, in terms of technique, they were identical. So, with one teaching and the other learning, time flew by quickly. The training ground wasn't a private place, so as they practiced, a few Konoha ninjas passed by occasionally. Seeing Uchiha Akira learning taijutsu from Might Guy, the noble beast, left many surprised. Just like that, an entire day passed in the blink of an eye. By the time Uchiha Akira had managed to roughly replicate Might Guy's Leaf Village-style taijutsu and memorize the 8 gates training method, the sky was already beginning to darken. Alright, let's call it a day. Akira, I'm heading home now. The Sharingan truly is a powerful tool. After a day of teaching, seeing Uchiha Akira almost mastering his taijutsu, Might Guy sighed with admiration before turning to leave. Wait, Guy-sensei. Uchiha Akira called out after hesitating for a moment as he watched Might Guy walk away. Is there something else? Might Guy turned back. Guy-sensei, you should know by now that I sometimes have a bit of a prophetic ability, allowing me to see glimpses of the future, Uchiha Akira began. Yes, I remember. It's a very mysterious ability. Might Guy nodded. On their way back to Konoha, Uchiha Akira had predicted Orochimaru's attack a day in advance. Sure enough, they encountered him the next day. In fact, I know you'll have a student in the future. His personality, even his appearance, right down to the thick eyebrows, is exactly like yours. No one would doubt it if you said he was your son. Uchiha Akira explained. Indeed, in the original story, both Rock Lee and Might Guy were modeled after Bruce Lee by Kishimoto. Naturally, the two of them, one large and one small, were like copies of the same template. Hey! Hearing this news suddenly, Might Guy's face showed a look of astonishment. He had thought he might never have a disciple in his lifetime, but now Akira was telling him that he would have one? And that this disciple would be nearly identical to him in every way? Guy-sensei, you should go to the Ninja Academy and look for a student named Rock Lee, who's known as the hot-blooded dead last. Uchiha Akira didn't offer further explanation, simply providing Might Guy with information about Rock Lee. In the original story, it was Kakashi who introduced Rock Lee to Might Guy. Now, Uchiha Akira didn't mind making the introduction early. Alright, Akira, I'll remember that. Might Guy nodded firmly, and the two of them went their separate ways, each heading home. Back at home, Keiko handed over a sum of money. Young master, this is the mission payment that Shisui-sensei brought over earlier today, a total of 130,000 ryo. Knowing Uchiha Akira's love for money, Keiko presented it to him immediately. Finally, some more money. It's been 7 or 8 days since I last used it for life simulations. Having just returned from the mission, Uchiha Akira was delighted as he received the money.
Thanks for listening.